Pathmonk is the intelligent tool for website lead generation. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully show your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and much more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by 50%. Add Pathmonk to your website in seconds, let the AI do all the work, and get access to 50% more qualified leads while you keep doing marketing and sales as usual. Check us on pathmonk.com. Welcome to today's episode. Let's talk about today's guest. We have Robert Hanna from Cohn and Dussi, Director, National Sales and Marketing with them. How you doing today, Bob?
Just fine. Just really dark outside.
a little late. I really do appreciate you giving us the opportunity to be in today's episode. And for our listeners that are tuning in, wondering what Cohn and Dussi is all about, Bob, in your own words, tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. By all means, welcome everybody. I'm Bob Hanna. I'm the Director of National Sales and Marketing for the law firm. We are a 29-year-old law firm with a specialty. The bucket you can call is creditors' rights. In English, that basically means we collect money, recover collateral for our clients. Basically, our home run here is the ability to offer a national solution based on alternative fee arrangements. So the idea of doing everything hourly is just only one of the options. So we do flat fees and contingency fees. As far as the services, we're focused really on recovering the money, as I mentioned, getting the collateral back. We're also involved very much with reducing delinquency or controlling delinquency, improving cash flow, minimizing risk, improving control, and boosting productivity and efficiency. Across the board, the name of the game is high net back, reducing the costs and improving the returns that our customers experience.
Definitely, that's great to hear there from Cohn and Dussi. And so that way then our listeners can get a good understanding of Cohn and Dussi. If you were to sum it up, what would you say are some of the biggest vertical segments that you guys like to go for your clients?
Yeah, sure. So basically anybody with an accounts receivable position would be a prospect for us. But if you want to get into the markets, you want to go broad, you can look at banks. You can look at insurance companies like subrogation claims. Obviously, banks have lines of loans that they offer. There's also the niche plays like equipment finance, merchant cash advance, factoring, the other alternative finance groups that you can think of. Overall, you could say our focus is really more B2B, more of commercial. We do handle some consumer product as well. And more selective based, but mostly it is commercial across the board in quite a few different silos that I mentioned.
Absolutely. All right. Awesome. And so what some of these insurance banks usually find out about Cohn and Dussi? Is there a top client acquisition channel that you guys have there at Cohn and Dussi?
Yeah, absolutely. The idea is go to the watering hole. Where do they congregate and be there with them? So we go to associations for a lot of these different groups, whether it's equipment finance or factoring. There are groups that support those industries. There's also not only the associations, but the conferences that they may run, or some of the independent companies to run their own conferences as well. We go there, we get the attendee list, we set up appointments. It's a direct sell one-on-one. And the goal is to establish a relationship. Remember, you're going to a place where your buyers are, not necessarily the right person, but at least the companies that we'd like to do business with. And also, let me remind everybody, when you go to these conferences, don't forget your clients. It's a good way of staying in touch with them and doing some mass marketing. But it is a direct relationship. When we get to the website discussion, that's, kind of a little bit different role here.
Definitely. All right. Awesome to hear that from you guys. And like you mentioned, right, before the podcast. And so that way our listeners could go ahead and visit you guys. You could visit them at Cohn, and that's COHN and Dussi.com. What role does the website play for your client acquisition, Bob?
Yeah, for our buyers, the website's sort of a box that needs to get checked off. It's sort of like, if you're a company, you got to have a website. And number two is what's in that website, and does it match up the value proposition that you're offering? If they're out of sync, it's gonna raise some flags. Maybe it's the wrong company. Some websites look very similar, but it's got to basically be in step with what your pitch is. The other thing too is we're we're not manufacturing anything here. We're a people company. So very important to have the people that are providing the services at our law firm. Those are where the relationships are established and the people that are doing the work. So they're buying people, they're buying experts, they're buying talent at the end of the day. So the website's got to be a good way of reinforcing that purchase behavior.
All right, perfect, awesome. And is there any tools or tips or methods that you would recommend our listeners as far as some website lead generation?
Well, on the website, I mean, we do monitor a website, where people travel to, what pages they're landing on. But very, very rarely we have somebody sort of check off the box and say, I'd like to talk to you about your business. I would say that is probably more appropriate for the retail sector. Say you need a personal injury attorney, a workman's comp issue, and you go on Google and say, I don't want to drive more than 5 miles. So you put a 5-mile radius and that's what you get. And you're going to get 100 attorneys. But in our business, you're not going to get that kind of hit. And the other thing, too, is because we're working national, we may have a New York client with a problem in California. So it's very tough to really Google that and get to the right guy. Remember, when you're getting your eyes checked, you don't go to a heart doctor. You go to the eye doctor. It's going to cost you a lot less. He's got the right tools, and you're going to walk out with a prescription. And that's the secret sauce here, is to get to the right guy that's going to do the work. What you don't want to see is, a firm that does, immigration, family law, and a few other things, and then they do collections on the side. That's probably not your best option. So the website's there to reinforce what we say. We may get a few leads off of it, but most of the time it's the initial contact, and then the website follows up right behind that with reinforcement.
Yeah, all right, awesome to hear that from you guys there. And well, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about you, Bob. You being the Director National of Sales and Marketing there for Cohn and Dussi. What are some key tasks you focus on your day-to-day work?
Well, number one textbook thing is, marketing, marketing 101. I pay attention to the 4 Ps, which is product, place, price, and promotion. Place you can call really distribution. And that's your marketing mix. You got to understand, what is your deliverable? What are you selling? How do you deliver it? Is it through directly or through channels? We do work through other organizations. How are you going to price it for the market that you're servicing, and be able to stratify that based on, small versus very large companies with different budgets. But you have to kind of manage that. And that's what I do. I try to get everything into a 6-sided box, so it's very easy for somebody to understand. Remember, the way your brain operates, it's got a mental model built in, and you have to assimilate to something that they're already familiar with. Otherwise, it's very hard to bridge and get the connection. Fortunately, again, most of the people that we talk to are involved with collections, recovering collateral, auctioning off their equipment, everything they need to do to kind of reduce the loss that they've got. So we're kind of dealing with experts here that know how to buy our services. So we don't have to do too much education on that.
That's great to hear, and it looks like you have a full plate on your hands. So it's awesome to hear that from Cohn and Dussi, right? They're your clients already know the notion, so it's that fluent of that journey for them is really great for them.
Yeah, and I'll also add too about that marketing mix and a successful marketing organization. The mission behind marketing, that department, is to drive inbound sales. Like, avoid direct selling if you can. Have the phone ring all day long. So if I can do anything and make the phone ring, that's a success story here. So again, that means doing the associations, the meetings, the conferences, paying your dues, going to the events, get the brand out there. The phones will eventually ring, but you do have to go out and get the business. You can't sit back and telemarket this.
Definitely would agree with that. And well, let's switch to our next section here, Bob, which is our rapid fire question rounds. You ready for them?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. First off, Bob, what is the last book that you read?
That was recommended to me, was From Worst to First. It was a book, probably a ghostwriter, but for Gordon Bethune, who was, I guess, a couple of CEOs before of Continental Airlines before I went to United. And what was great about that book, it was no nonsense. It was actually funny in some spots, but basically how, an airline was so bad, and what they did very simply to turn around and focus on the customer, focus on their distribution channel, which was travel agents. The previous Continental was trying to cut them out. Gordon brought them back, and they got sales back in line. He also realized that people check off boxes and say, hey, I want low fares and I don't want, and I'm happy to eat peanuts. But we know the consumers lie. They're willing to pay more and get a steak on the plate if they can. So he was very good at interpreting all that and breaking down the executive suite door and making himself available.
Definitely, that's a good book. There's a great read for our listeners as well. And next, Bob, is what is one single thing that your company's focused on at the moment the most?
They do kind of dovetail. Number one is client retention, and number two is bringing in additional business. So we have a positive growth here. You don't want to be losing customers and just replacing them with new business. That's not fun.
No, it's, the loyalty and just doing some good work that they would always stay. And I prefer, having long-term clients and, onboarding and new ones and leaving, it just doesn't look like a good fit for everybody. So definitely would agree with you.
Yeah, we also get a lot of referrals too that way. So we have happy customers and meet with other people at the same meetings that we're at, literally next to them having dinner. The guy will say, hey, is this law firm really real? And he goes, yeah, we use them all the time. Like, great. You get the business. That's just how it works.
Definitely. All right. Awesome to hear that from Cohn and Dussi. Next, Bob, is if there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be that one thing that you want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
I say it would probably dovetail into what I just said. Something that's focused on customer service and keeping that foundation together. That's the most important thing. I've worked with companies where we had a weak foundation, a weak client base that fed us some, money every day, so to speak, kept it going, the company going and people employed. But when that crumbles underneath, it's a problem. So to me, that's the most important thing at this point.
Definitely. All right. Awesome to hear that. Next is, if there is one repetitive task that you could automate, Bob, what would that be?
That's an easy one. I need something that automatically goes out to our clients and say, we haven't heard from you with a referral, with a placement, an account, say in 60 days. Is everything okay? Are you still there? Is there anything we need to address? Because right now, we're sort of driving the car with a rearview mirror where we're looking at a report showing 60 days or 90 days of no activity. And it may not be anything wrong with it. It's just they don't have anything for us at this point. But I'd like to see that automated with just sort of an email go out to say, is everything okay? Anything you need to do, respond here. And then our phone would ring.
That's all I got. That's great to hear. And lastly, Bob, I mean, you do have a lot of experience already, right? There's no denying that. But what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today?
Pretty simple. Stay focused on your deliverables. What's your value proposition and why people are buying from you. If you got that figured out, you're going to spend more time closing more business from qualified prospects that you have. I will say this is a discussion I had with somebody yesterday about the 10-3-1 rule, which is make 10 phone calls, make 3 meetings, and 1 comes out as a deal. I don't know about you, but that tells me 90% failure rate. How do I get that to be 1-1-1? If you can figure that out, then you got a good marketing department and a good business development department.
That would be some great numbers. I totally would agree with you on that if it works like that. So great things there from you, Bob. Bob, well, it's been a pleasure to have you on our episode today. But before we end, I do want to give you the last word. If someone forgets everything about the interview today, what is that one thing they should remember about your company?
What they remember about our company, it's just got to be customer service and performance. You got to have both.
Definitely. Where you guys heard it there, you can always visit them at cohnanddussi.com. To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today's episode, and I'm looking forward to our next episode at Pathmonk Presents. Thanks a lot, Bob.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.